can imagine how getting a hold of this data could really lead to some scary outcomes, and that worries me. That's what worries me.
Has been found, stopped, and defeated.
What you may not have known is that every email you send or receive, every text message that you receive is tracked. Since 2001, the NSA has been collecting mass amounts of data and storing it. Then they process it through their database to look for key search terms.
The National Security Agency was formed to investigate threats to our national security. It came about several decades ago and has been working to try to gather intelligence and generally pretty loose oversight by Congress. They have been given a lot of authority to do what they feel like they need to do in order to find out what's happening in these threats.
In order to get a general idea of the public's opinion, we surveyed several students from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga.
How did learning that government agencies and phone companies can collect your personal texts and record your phone calls impact your view on the government?
I wasn't particularly surprised. The government does get you things all the time, but I think if it's meant to protect our safety, then I don't really have any complaints. I don't have anything to hide.
Honestly, I don't think it's any of the government's business to be dealing with our stuff.
I think that knowing that they could look at anything they wanted to is kind of crazy, but I guess for security reasons, I'm all for it.
That phone that you consider all private, like that you sort of like, say you're on it and your girlfriend tries to look, you sort of go like that. Well, you've got to go like that now to the whole government, and you can't, because they're in there looking at it.
So now that we have a general idea of how the public feels, and Russell Brand, let's take a look at what actually started all this.
Edward Snowden did not work for the NSA. That's something that a lot of people don't know. He was a contractor for a company called Booz Allen Hamilton, which is a government contractor. He is a college dropout, I should say. He's a college dropout who is very interested in computers and computer security. He got a job at Booz Allen Hamilton after doing a lot of other government consulting, and then was employed by the NSA as a federal contractor to work on issues of security at the NSA. He had pretty unfettered access. He had top secret clearance.
So what is it that caused Edward Snowden to leak these files and potentially endanger the lives of not only himself, but his family, his girlfriend, and his co-workers around him?
He felt that his oath, which he took when he became a government contractor to uphold the Constitution, required him to let the public know that the government was violating his interpretation of the Constitution, in particular the Fourth Amendment's protection against search and seizure without a warrant. The government he provided documentation to support is essentially collecting data on the phone calls that everyone is making, as well as internet traffic.
The Fourth Amendment clearly states, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, in particular describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized."
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
How does the possibility of a third party viewing your private conversations on your phone and computer change how you view technology?
Third party over my technology. I feel like we take technology for granted too often. And everyone just thinks that it's all right to what we should be entailed to.
I I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
So I mean, I guess I can see why they would want the opportunity to look what we're doing. I just don't think it's necessarily.
It doesn't really change how I view it, because again, I don't have anything that no one should read, I guess, but I hope that it is a deterrent to make sure other people aren't abusing technology.
Well, I mean, personally, I don't think I have anything to say that's going to really excite anyone via email or my phone. So I don't think that it changes the ways in which I choose to communicate. I do think that I worry about a government that is collecting data on every citizen, because this data has to be stored somewhere. And while I may not worry about the people who are in power right now exploiting that information, I'm worried about there being an archive about everything that everyone has said via email or every phone conversation we've ever had.
Gentlemen, we're going to switch topics now and talk a bit about terror and national security. Governor Christie, you have said that Senator Paul's opposition to the NSA's collection of phone records has made the United States weaker and more vulnerable, even going so far as to say that he should be called before Congress to answer for it if we should be hit by another terrorist attack. Do you really believe you can assign blame to Senator Paul just for opposing the bulk collection of people's phone records in the event of a terrorist attack?
Yes, I do. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm the only person on this stage who's actually filed applications under the Patriot Act, who have gone before the federal, the Foreign Intelligence Service Court, who has prosecuted and investigated and jailed terrorists in this country after September 11th. I was appointed U.S. Attorney by President Bush on September 10th, 2001, and the world changed enormously the next day. And it happened in my state. This is not theoretical to me. I went to the funerals. We lost friends of ours in the Trade Center that day. My own wife was 2 blocks from the Trade Center that day at her office, having gone through it that morning. When you actually have to be responsible for doing this, you can do it, and we did it for 7 years in my office, respecting civil liberties and protecting the homeland. And I will make no apologies ever for protecting the lives and the safety of the American people. We have to give more tools to our folks to be able to do that, not fewer, and then trust those people and oversee them to do it the right way. As president, that is exactly what I'll do.
Megan, may I respond? May I respond?
Go ahead, sir.
I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from innocent Americans. The Fourth Amendment was what we fought the revolution over. John Adams said it was the spark that led to our war for independence. And I'm proud of standing for the Bill of Rights, and I will continue to stand for the Bill of Rights.
And Megan, that's a completely ridiculous answer. I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from other people. How are you supposed to know, Megan?
Use the Fourth
What are you supposed
Amendment.
to? How are you supposed
Use
to?
the Fourth
no, I'll
Amendment.
tell you how you
Get a warrant.
Let me tell you something.
Get
you
a
go
judge to sign
when
a warrant.
Senator.
Go ahead, wait, Governor Christie, make your point.
Listen, Senator, when you're sitting in a subcommittee just blowing hot air about this, you can say things like that. When you're responsible for protecting the lives of the American people, then what you need to do is to make sure that you use the system the way it's supposed to work.
Here's the problem, Governor. You fundamentally misunderstand the Bill of Rights. Every time you did a case, you got a warrant from a judge. I'm talking about searches without warrants, indiscriminately of all Americans' records, and that's what I fought to end. I don't trust President Obama with our records. I know you gave him a big hug, and if you want to give him a big hug again, go right ahead.
Now that we've taken a look on people's opinion whether the NSA should or should not be allowed to collect data on people, let's take a look at whether Edward Snowden should be labeled a hero or a villain.
Well, he's a hero because he's prepared to risk being shot by the CIA and live in Russia for the rest of his life to expose the degree to which our government are spying on us and always looking for more reasons to continue spying on us.
I think that Snowden broke the law, and I think that the NSA broke the law. I don't think that either of them did the right thing, but neither of them did the wrong thing either. Does that make sense? Right? I feel like nobody is blameless.
Personally, I think everyone has the right to know what the government is doing, especially if it involves them. So I think there's nothing wrong with that, personally.
I honestly don't have an answer for this one. What should I say?
I think that it may have been overblown. It is serious because we do have a right to privacy, but once you do something that could jeopardize the safety of other citizens, you give up that right. And the government has full authority to take advantage of your technology use.
So what we're really asking is whether or not the NSA and our government spying on us is beneficial to us in a way that will create a peaceful and collective world where there is no threat of violence or crime, or will it create a society where everyone is constantly in fear of their government, checking over their shoulder, looking and collecting their text messages, their emails. People will be scared to send any message, fearing they might say something wrong that could possibly land them in prison. We'd like to thank Edward Snowden for providing us the opportunity to do this film, as well as those of you in the class and those of you in the NSA watching us right now.